Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another SHOUTCraft Clan War right here, exclusively on MLG TV. Unless you're watching the VOD on youtube.com/TotalBiscuit, in which case, it's also there. Welcome to Complexity vs. Root. It's going to be an interesting one, a pretty evenly matched series, one would think. Although it's a little difficult to know, because Complexity has had a very significant change in roster over the last few weeks. They added some brand new players in, and as opposed to being a team that actually had a couple of pretty strong Koreans in it, and then a bunch of Americans, they're actually, I believe now, an all-American lineup. There is not a single Korean on the Complexity roster whatsoever. Their roster right now is currently looking something like this. They've got Deathend, Drunken Boy, Hendralis, Coma, Midday, Moose Skills, and QXE. Now, the strongest players in that lineup, in my opinion, have got to be QXE, probably followed by Drunken Boy, and then Hendralisk. Although, I don't really have much experience with Coma or Deathend, so it's a little difficult to know how good they are. But Drunken Boy, in particular, has put on some great performances in the past, including, of course, SHOUTCraft America, where he played very well indeed. A lot of the others are really unknowns, so it's hard to say. And then, of course, the Root lineup. Well, I think everybody knows the Root lineup, and I'll indeed show you the full lineup that you're going to be seeing right here. Root Gaming have a pretty powerful American force. In fact, one would say that some of the best American players are on Root, including players like Minigun, including players like Masa, both of whom are extremely good. Illusion, who was tipped as a foreign hope for the longest time, but unfortunately never seemed to really get there. And then you've got players like Estrella, who are also extremely good, and I believe Estrella I have actually seen before. That must have been a recent pickup. I was going to say, Estrella, yeah, reasonably recent pickup. Who else have they got? Well, they've got Caliber, they've got Cats, of course. They do have Igers and Petraeus, but they're actually not playing for Root in this tournament. They're playing for the Australian clan. So, we will see. We will see. Alright. Well, folks, we do have a bit of a change in the lineup. So, Minigun is currently unavailable. Yeah, something happened, can't really avoid it. So, we gave Complexity a choice. They could choose between a walkover, which would be 1-0 in favor of those, or alternatively, they can move it further down the roster and try and do it later. Which, that's what they chose to do, which, frankly, is kind of cool, honestly. It's nice that they would do that, and they have moved it to the 4th position, meaning that Masa vs. Hendralis gets pushed down a bit further. It's an interesting situation, because obviously they want QXE to play, and QXE getting a walkover kind of has the same effect, but they would like QXE in the first 4 maps. They want a strong opener there. But yeah, so ignore this running order right now. Minigun and QXE will actually be the 4th map, and we're going to be starting... Actually, yeah, it would actually be after Masa, come to think of it, yeah. Because we're actually going to be starting with a 2v2 here. I'm getting my brain all mixed up here because we've had to mess around with this. We've never actually had to change the running order prior to the event. Running orders for Clan Wars are always set in advance, so you never really have to worry too much about the running order. But in this case, we will be starting with a 2v2, which is going to be Caliber and Cats. Caliber is going to be playing random, incidentally, which is a very, very interesting choice, versus Coma and Hendralisk, so that should be pretty interesting. Then after that, we will have Masa versus Hendralisk. So hopefully he will be back in time and won't have any further problems. Then we have Caliber versus Coma, and then that will be followed by Minigun versus QXE on Keru, and then potentially Illusion versus Deathend, and Cats versus Trimaster. Yeah, my head is now in the right place. Thank God. My assets are now all wrong, of course, but never mind. I guess we just have to deal with that. Now, bear in mind, if there are any further delays, that will result in walkovers for either team. So if we do have any issues with any other players, well, that could be a walkover, which is not really what you want, is it? Absolutely not. Alright, folks, well, the first match in our Clan War today... I'm not wearing my hat, am I? Good Lord, look at my shiny bald head. I'm a damn mess today, I tell you that for a fact. There we go. Gotta represent, honestly. That and, you know, because my balding head could very easily blind small children that happen to be watching the stream, so I'm just trying to be as responsible as possible here. Alright. Interestingly, Complexity are not actually available as a team to choose, which is a bit weird. Now, for those of you who don't know, we use GameHeart, which of course allows us to put some really cool logos up and things like that, but Complexity isn't on it. That's really weird. That's really, really strange. There must be we must have Complexity. There they are. Okay. They're in a different part of the menu. Very cool. Well, hopefully these guys are ready to rock and roll. We're going to be starting with the 2v2. As I said, Sacred Path will be the place to be for this one. And I'm definitely hoping that these players have prepared. I'm really interested to see what happens when Caliber gets his choice. I assume Katz has played a little bit of 2v2. We have confirmation that everybody is ready. Just checking that Caliber's good to go. And then I'll start the game. Well, it's already started off as a pretty weird clan war at the best of times, so, well, whatever. We'll do what we can. Caliber is confirmed as ready. All right, let's rock and roll, folks. The countdown has now begun. Yes, indeed, it has. And we are heading into Sacred Path for our 2v2 here, which was scheduled to be the second map, but as I said, Minigun has been called away unexpectedly, and as a result, we've been able to move his match further down the roster. Hopefully no walkovers, but I can't promise anything if this is what's going to be happening. Alright, Sacred Path is loading in, and I'm hoping to see an interesting game. So far, the promise of longer games on this map has not actually materialized, so we may have to look into different maps in future, but we are ready to rock and roll, folks, so here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sacred Path and SHOUTCraft Clan Wars between Team Complexity, featuring Coma, who is representing in the purple trunks playing Terran, and his teammate Hendrilisk in the baby blue playing Zerg. Look at their lovely sponsors. They have a lot of sponsors. I gotta say, Complexity is pretty well set up. Hey, they're actually sponsored by Scuff Gaming. I have one of their controllers here, the Scuff Gaming Hybrid. It's actually a nice controller. I liked it a lot. Versus their opponents. And that's an early... Wow, Caliber. Very cool. To the east position, in the yellow trunks, playing Zerg, we have Katz for Team Root, who hasn't put his sponsors into GameHeart yet and really needs to. Hint, hint, hint. And his teammate Caliber, who randomed into Protoss and is actually going for a pylon-based wall-off here. And he's working on the rock tower. He's got to be a little bit careful here. I hope he's practiced this. I'm not 100% sure if the pylon is actually in the kind of place where this rock tower could collapse onto it and destroy it. That would be less than ideal. I think it's this area that it collapses onto, not here. So he's going to go for the Forge Wall-off. And that's actually a really good use of Protoss that we haven't seen yet on this map. So I think it's abundantly clear already that actually Caliber did prepare for this, which is awesome. Very, very happy about that. And this wall-off is going to be quite difficult to break through. This is cool. Every Protoss we've seen on this map previously has just kind of died for the most part. They haven't been able to do much, and they didn't seem to really understand how the map works. But in reality, walling off this area and controlling this area is very important. And, of course, since you've got cannons, it means it's very difficult to put an Overlord over here, for instance, which a lot of players have demonstrated a desire to do, because this is the main attack route until you knock down some of these rocks. So you can't hover an Overlord around here because there's a cannon there, and the cannon at the back means that the defense is absolutely rock solid. What you could do as well is extend pylons along the wall, but you've got to watch out. Now, let's see where this goes. I'm really intrigued. Factory's coming up here for Coma, and Hendrilisk is about to scout, and he's going to see what's going on. He's also going to notice that these rock towers are actually linked together. Both rock towers will collapse, and he's going to collapse the whole thing. I really, really hope he knows what he's doing. If we see some destroyed buildings here, this is going to be pretty funny. I hope he got his placement right. Rocks are down! Holy hell. Well, he did practice. Caliber, he knows exactly what he's doing. He collapses the rocks, and the entire map is now sealed off. And Hendrilisk's Lings are not going to get anything done. They're going to have to start working their way through the rocks on the side. There we go. Very cool play already, coming out of here from Caliber. He knows what he's doing. And this is given Katz... What? Whoa. Katz, what on earth? Katz goes lair before hatchery, you crazy person. What the hell's going on here? Well, these rocks are going to take a lot of work to get through, and even if he does manage to make his way through there, he has to deal with the fact that there's a cannon and a forge. But Katz is going one base lair. Alright. What is he going to do with it? He's mining gas. One base spire! You nutter. What on earth? Alright, well, Hendril is going to try and make his way through here. In the meantime, we're actually seeing Coma going all the way up to what looks to be Hellion Banshee, maybe? It depends. He may decide to go drop. Yeah, it looks like he's going to drop. He's not swapping over here, so we're going to see a medevac out here, I think. There it is. So he's going to go Hellion drop. And, I mean, that in itself is really cool. So this is one way of bypassing this problem, of course. Another pylon is coming up, and Caliber's just making sure that his wall-off is solid against what's going on here. He's brought a Stalker out as well. And this has allowed Caliber to... He's putting a tithing a Twilight Council without that. I thought he was going to expand, maybe, but he didn't. One base Spire is about to complete. The Mothership Core's out for Caliber as well, who is actually able to save these rocks as a result of having that, which is very nice, and looking for an Overlord pickoff, which he can get if he brings his Mothership Core over here. Caliber got kind of lucky, by the way. Caliber's main is Protoss, so he's feeling pretty good about that, no doubt. But here's Coma's Hellion drop, and it's going to make its way to the natural and find really nothing here. And, oh man, the mutas are going to be out by the time this drop hits. This is actually great. Dark Shrine coming down here for Caliber. What is he going to do with that? Like, he actually... Can he warp past? I think, in theory, if you put a pylon here, you could warp past these minerals, which would work pretty well. Here come the Hellions. And they're going to do some damage. The Mutalisks do come out and, unfortunately, don't find themselves a medevac yet. One Hellion down, another one coming in here. Let's see how good this drone splitting is. Some damage still being done. This is not bad. It's not crippling by any means, but it's not bad either. So we'll see how much damage is done eventually. And down goes the medevac. So it's actually difficult to tell because the Workers Lost tab, I don't believe actually works in 2v2. We can look at units lost. That doesn't really tell us much. I think, yeah, Cat's probably lost 11, 12 drones, which is pretty bad. He's actually down to 15 now. So his economy is going to be crippled for a while. On the other hand, however, Cats is going in to do a little bit of damage of his own with a very small Mutalisk flock. Crazy one-base Spire nonsense. Not great control here from Cats, though. He is trying to micro these Mutalisks, but he doesn't really have enough. He's not going to be able to take them all out, and the missile turret's done now, so... yeah, not really convinced by that play. Lings are now trying to make their way through here. Caliber with the active scout. I love it. And he warps past. I knew it. You can do that. You can use the pylon to warp past the blockade and is now warping DTs directly in. Loving this already. Well, this is going to be entirely unexpected here for Hendrilisk. He has a... oh, he has a spore down, though. So he may not have seen it, but I guess he expected it. Yeah, he didn't scout the Dark Shrine. But there is a spore already down, so I think he was maybe expecting some kind of airplay, or maybe he just wanted to set it up against those Mutalisks. But one way or the other, it's become kind of beneficial. So the DTs are sort of wandering around the map here, trying to get a little bit of damage done. And I would imagine that Coma, yeah, Coma's set up against this as well, so these DTs haven't done much yet. This is already turning into one of our most interesting 2v2s yet, I've got to say. This is probably the absolute best 2v2 thus far, mostly because it's gone past the 5-minute mark. Cat's pack of 3 Mutalisks is going in. He is building up his drone count in the meantime. DTs find their way in and are trying to do some damage. But here's the thing, Hendrilisk actually has an Overseer and is using it to help out Coma, which is lovely. You generally don't have that mobile detection there. DT's now working on some Lings here. Where's that other Dark Templar? I assume it actually died? Yep, looks like it did. Oh me, oh my. But DT is getting some damage done in the mineral line of Coma, so Caliber getting it done here. It's very nice. Hendrilisk looking for it and actually finds the warping point, but realizes, oh, well, I can't actually get at that unless I get a ranged unit. But that's the thing. I mean, if you brought some ranged units in, you can actually shoot that. So you just can't attack it with Lings. Cat's still trying to get something done with 3 Mutalisks, which is not really doing much at the moment. Link's trying to make their way through. They're going to get shut down by this wall-off here by Caliber, who has his 2v2 strat nicely figured out here. Viking is inexplicably on the ground and is dying to a Dark Templar in a shameful display. Another DT coming in. Ling's coming in for the defense, though, and Caliber needs to get out of detection range, and he's able to do that. Cat's now starting to force up Lings. Bear in mind, Cat's has been on 2 bases for quite some time. He has been able to reinforce here. Coma's taken a little bit of damage. But now there seems to be a rather large roll-off of slow Hydras. 18 of them. They're going to try and break this blockade here. Well, I hope Cat's is ready for this. And I hope that Caliber has some units as well. He does have some Stalkers. So that will help. He's got a decent number of them, too. Doesn't have Blink yet on them. In fact, he's not even working on Blink. Oh, there we go. Never mind. What am I talking about? Blink just finished, actually. So, yeah, Caliber's looking good. Well, this is a weird little standoff, isn't it? They can't quite get into melee range of each other, but they can destroy the pylons. So that has stopped Caliber's ability to warp in across the map here. Cat's bringing his reinforcements and Banelings in across the side as well. You know, it's really cool to watch 2v2 from people that actually practice 2v2. This is great. And now they're going to find their way through here, and this is going to be the new attack path. He doesn't want to try and break through the center and kill the Forge. He's going to make his way through here. Oh, and a lovely drop here from Coma at the top here to take out that third hatchery. Cat's maybe getting a little bit greedy. There's now an attack path open, so they can head over this direction. And Coma with the big stim into the base. So we're going to need to see a quicker response than this. It's going to be dead overlords. Not too many dead drones as of yet. But Coma's definitely going to get some kills here. And in the meantime, we're seeing combat over here as well. Cats is actually trying to defend on two fronts. Coma's army is a little bit small right now, but it is researching Storm. Coma forced to lift up as a lot of Banelings come in. Cat's actually on 27 Banelings right now. Lovely drops here from Coma, though, to try and isolate some of those. Little Ling run by from Hendrilisk makes his way into Caliber's base, which is going to do a little bit of damage here as well, but Caliber warps in as Ella to deal with it. And in the meantime, Caliber just posturing in the center as the big Hydralisk force is trying to batter its way through. This is not the ideal place to research +1. I would say that of the places you could have chosen, this is suboptimal. In the meantime, Coma yet again with the drops. In come the Banelings. Quick pickup, and Coma is on the way. Lovely drops again to actually absorb a lot of those Baneling hits. Add surrounds coming in as well. Cat's able to do some damage here. It does end up losing some mutas, but Caliber's force actually now has Storm. Not a lot of Storm energy, but not terrible either. And Blinkstalk is available as well. Hendrilisk losing some Banelings at the front here. Not so good. Coma trying to push in on the natural of Cats once again. Another Storm goes down. And I would not want to fight this choke point with Hydras. No way. Not with that many Storms. That is suicidal. But Coma's doing a lot of damage here to Cat's economy. He's not going to be able to continue to reinforce. A lot of Overlords going down here as well. It looks like Coma's got... Ooh, Caliber is thinking about pulling back here to try and help out. And that actually puts Root on the defensive. Hendrilisk has a big army. It's a big, scary army. It could be killed by Storms, but Coma's drops are going unanswered here. And the natural of Cats is dead. We're going to have to see some good Baneling hits again, but Coma has denied those up to this point. Great micro thus far. A couple of Mutalisks coming down to try and chase this out. Seems to be doing the job, but that has given an opportunity for Hendrilisk to move forward. Photon Overcharge has now been triggered. Big army of Hydras coming in. 35 in total here, and a nice split up by Hendrilisk. Most of the army seems to have been eliminated at the base. Coma's trying to drop in and reinforce at the front here to assault Caliber's natural. We're going to need to see some good Storms here, but there's still everything to play for. I think Caliber has a pretty strong army against what Hendrilisk has, but with Coma as well, that might not happen. Link's trying to break their way through and find themselves a second path here as well. Stalker's coming in. Caliber's got to be a little bit careful, loses a couple there. His army is actually split up here, which is less than ideal. Caliber now going forward, a big storm, big storm! Second big storm coming down. Not a massive amount of damage, but that one did. A lot of Hydras coming down. The interception. Cat's actually going to try and kill the Overseers over here. In the meantime, Coma's stimming in to try and reinforce his companion. Where's Cat's army? I don't think he's got much left, honestly. Brilliant storms going in, though. Significant damage being done, but it might not be enough. It looks like Complexity is going to break their way through here, and Caliber is about to forfeit his natural. Cat's trying to bring in reinforcements, but I don't think that's going to be enough. Coma with the Mana Mule. Looks like Root is about to lose it. They had a pretty solid strategy. We're seeing a counterattack here coming in from Cats, but with a reduced economy, I don't think that's going to make much difference. The Hydralisk bust working out here for Hendrilisk, especially with the Terran reinforcements coming in, and Caliber's army is basically gone with the exception of 3 Dark Templar. Coma coming across to deal with the counterattack very nicely indeed. The detection does go down, but there is scan energy. Coma with the pickup. Caliber losing his base here. Cat's stuck on one base trying to reestablish his natural. And he really doesn't have an awful lot of units to stop this. Coma and Hendrilisk's forces hammer through, and there's the GG, ladies and gentlemen, in easily the best 2v2 we have seen up to this point. And Complexity picks up their first victory here. Very nice. Very nice. Well, you know, it was really refreshing to actually see a 2v2 from two teams that had actually practiced. That was a lot of fun. I'd love to see more of that, actually. It was a really cool use of the map's mechanics as well. We saw some interesting choke points opened up as a result of those destructible rocks. And I think the Forge Expand Wall-Off in the center of the map is extremely effective, and I think that's something that Protoss could really use on this map, and we haven't seen Protoss use as of yet. I just want to point out, by the way, the Hydralisks were getting medevac support throughout all of that. That's how 2v2 can go, folks. Perhaps the Storms are even a little bit less effective than they should have been as a direct result, but that was awesome. Absolutely awesome. Really impressive. Really impressive. Alright, folks. We're going to be going to Game 2 very shortly. Currently got Complexity leading 1-up in this best of 7 clan war. Don't go anywhere. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to SHOUTCraft Clan Wars. Apologies for the extended delay, we're just getting Marsa sorted out here, and we do have Marsa versus Hydralisk, which should be a really good start here, and Complexity goes 1-up in this series thanks to their rather awesome 2v2 skills. In fact, both teams demonstrated some really good 2v2. Looking forward to scheduling them for more 2v2 matches later in the tournament. Marsa is ready, just gonna confirm that Hydralisk is ready to rock and roll, and the map's gonna be Wrecking Ball, which is a cool map for TVZ, and not a map that we've actually got to see much of TVZ on. The last TVZ we saw was, in fact, Startail versus IM, and it was a bit of a washout because it was a double proxy racks, so I won't spoil the result, but yeah, it wasn't really what I hoped to see on this map. I want to see a little bit more of a macro game. I want to see the mechanics actually play out. And hopefully we will get the chance to see just that. Alright. And guess what I forgot to do? Set my overlay back. So, my apologies. You're going to be seeing the old school StarCraft overlay for this one. Unfortunately, the overlay I use doesn't work for 2v2, so that can cause some problems. But we are coming in. Alright, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Wrecking Ball. It's my pleasure to bring you in the baby blue trunks to the south position, playing for Complexity Colossus B, which I believe is Complexity Sound Blaster, by the way. It's, of course, Hydralisk playing Zerg versus his opponent to the north position in the Stylen pink trunks for Team Root. Playing Terran, it is Marsa. Well, let's see what these guys come up with. Already, Hydralisk realizes that sending his Overlord to the right will result in it dying. One of the more unique features on this map is the fact that to the right of the south base and to the left of the north base, there are 6 neutral missile turrets. These turrets will fire on anything and everything that heads over there, which can be a little bit crazy. It's specifically designed to prevent some nasty drop play with this base right here. It actually protects this base quite nicely and gives you a bit of a different expansion option than you otherwise would have. So that works, but it also does prevent you from reinforcing by air. So you've got to be a little bit careful with that. And of course, it does also protect the left and the right of the mains from attacks, and it can result in air units like Mutas being herded into the missile turrets, which would of course be an absolute disaster. You can't just bail out whatever way you feel like it. There's also not a lot of airspace at the back here either, so air harass on this map can be dangerous to attempt. Okay, Marsa, what are you up to? Well, it looks like we might just be seeing a Reaper here from Marsa. Although the amount of gas he's getting would indicate that he probably isn't going to, but he could. Yeah, I mean, it's almost there. Yeah, he probably will just build a Reaper here. We'll see what he decides to go with. Yeah, there it is. That's going to be the Reaper. It seemed ever so slightly late on the gas to line it up completely, but it's close enough for it not to really matter. In the meantime, we saw from Hydralisk the addition of the spawning pool after the hatchery, and there's the gas taken on 16 supply. Nothing too fancy there from him. So far so standard. No nonsense on this map at all. We've seen a lot of the Koreans either cheese or go kind of 1-2 base all in on this map, whereas this is more of a safe opening here. But this bunker placement is kind of interesting. And Marsa is not going to, well, I don't think he's going to get it, surely. Hydralisk is going to see it, and then he'll pull drones to stop this from happening. The Reaper could be very annoying here. Very annoying. I'm surprised Hydralisk isn't pulling drones, actually. He's going to let this go up. Huh, why on earth would he let it do that? Well, that's going to be quite nice here for Marsa. He's got an area that he can go in, and he's... Oh, this is cute. So, what's happened here is that Hendralisk has actually been walled off from his own natural, because this map is set up in such a way that the natural is actually up the ramp, not down the ramp. So, any kind of bunker play like this can be really powerful, way more powerful than it would be on a standard map, and that's why I'm really surprised that Hendralisk allowed that bunker to go up after scouting it. He could have stopped it. He would have had to pull a lot of drones, but I don't think he necessarily realized how nasty this could be. So what we're going to have to see, I think, from Hendralisk is we're going to have to see him using lava on the top to spawn units, and also maybe building another queen, possibly even building a spine on the high ground. That would do the job. It's not completely terrible for Hendralisk, but it does mean that if he wanted to try and take a third base, which he probably does, considering his opponent is already building a command center on the low ground, really, well, I say the low ground, the high ground, taking a real advantage from this, then he's going to have to break this. It's not game-ending, but it does separate the two bases. It even prevents the spread of creep between the two bases. So this is a really weird situation that you don't see in many maps at all, but it's really cool to watch, honestly. Okay, so we've got 4 queens coming out, so this will clean this up eventually. I'm kind of surprised that Hendralisk is even risking these lings, but it looks like the amount of firepower has forced a double salvage here. So now Hendralisk can finally spread creep between his main and his natural. And somehow, yeah, I say somehow, but they must have spawned here, 2 lings from the natural came in and have delayed this thing from coming up. I mean, it's about to finish, and this is going to get cleaned up, but this actually delayed the command center by a good 20 seconds, so that was a nice little bit of harass. It even did a huge amount of damage. I mean, taking a third of the hit points off with just 2 lings is pretty impressive. So that was a really cool start to this game, honestly, which resulted from the very unique setup that this map has. And now we're going to see a more standard game coming out, and the SCV count for Massa is not that high. Surprisingly enough, Hendralisk has been able to drone a lot after that harassment ended, and only 2 workers were killed. Double Evo Chamber coming down right here for the wall-off. Only a partial wall-off so far. And Massa is now going to go for something that Massa does a lot, which is Hellion Reaper play into bio. It's very, very characteristically Massa in this matchup. And that's going to be great for him, because he will get a little bit of a scout off on these lings coming down. He looks for the interception. Great Hellion control from him. Takes down all but 2 lings, and they're going to be easily finished off by the Marines that are waiting here. But what's this? Hendralisk is going for a Roach Warren. Alright. So we should be able to shut these Hydras down without a huge... Hydras? What? Hellions down without too much of a problem. But they're going to make their way across the map, and this is fairly wide open and isn't walled off by queens, so you'd have to have a lot of queens to actually wall this off completely. Third base is going to be spotted, so Massa gets a read on that quite nicely without too much of a problem. Double melee upgrades coming in. And this push is actually a lot stronger than it should be, because it's got a lot of Marines with it as well, 12, and it's going to be 12 Marines with combat shield. So this is a really powerful push, and if Hendralisk underestimates just what this push is, and thinks it's just the good old Hellion Reaper early game poke, then he's going to be in a lot of trouble. But the Overlord, I think, did spot the Marines coming out here, so I would expect units and units and units, but we are seeing 2 drones being made. He's going to have to be careful here. He does bring in the lings, which get instantly annihilated. He's going to need some more roaches, I think. There we go. He's brought some in. So now he's got to get a good fight in this choke. Brings some lings around and gets around the side here. So Hendralisk now making his way through and try to push this away. And this is pretty bad for Massa by the looks of it. He lost all his Marines at the front here. So the Roaches should now be able to push away the Hydras. What is with my head today? They're Hellions. And Hendralisk with the rock-solid defense. Absolutely fantastic from him. Sacrificed a few lings early on, but he was able to really get the position. If the Marines had been at the back and the Hellions at the front, I think that would have been a different fight entirely, but that's not how it worked out. Ling's now trying to make their way through to cut off the reinforcements, but there aren't quite enough. And Hendralisk going for the counterattack, a gutsy counterattack with slow roaches here as he tries to transition into lair behind it. And we're going to need to see Massa get his defense up pretty quickly. He doesn't really have much outside of his Marines. He doesn't have any bunkers or anything like that, but I don't think there's really enough roaches to properly threaten this. Roach-Bane attack going on the front here. This is not where you want your roaches to be. I'm surprised Hendralisk went up that ramp. He's now going to lose all 4 of these roaches, and he may even lose the Banelings. It depends. Does Massa see them? Oh, did he see him? Did he see him? I don't think he did. Banelings coming in, and Massa... I'm actually kind of surprised that Massa didn't go after those Banes. He could have taken all 4 out with Hellions there, I feel. He's now going to try and chase them down and find them. He does see them. And they're all going to go down for the cost of 1 Marine, so not a really effective attack here from Hendralisk as of this point. But never mind. Marsa now with the complete wall-off, so he is absolutely set up against Ling run-bys. And we are seeing continued dedication. This is a really strange thing to see, because we're seeing continued dedication to Roach upgrades, like Roach speed, but he's upgrading melee. So he's getting Baneling Nest, he's getting Baneling speed, and he's getting Zerg melee level 2. But he is still upgrading his roaches, and he's going massive into drones here, building 16 drones behind this. Hendralisk very economical, and he's been able to do this because, honestly, Marsa hasn't done much damage yet. And you know what Marsa also did throughout all of this? He really delayed his medevacs, meaning that any potential for drop, well, it wasn't really there. Not for a long time anyway, and now finally has medevacs at 1230. Now, Hendralisk does not have a Spire, and he actually doesn't have any spores or any spines down at all. So, drop play could be effective, but Marsa has elected to build a tank, and is now going to push across the map with that. Now, this could be really strong. If you gain position on your opponent's natural with a tank, then any reinforcements that come from the low ground are going to be in a world of trouble. So this is not a bad move here from Marsa, but that said, I think he does need to drop and do some damage. Is it going to be spotted? Overlord is going to see it. Overlord speed is done, so we should see a preparation here. And that's going to give Marsa an opportunity to push out with a smaller force and kill a couple of queens and creep tumors. So this is not a bad little move. A lot of lings. There's no way this drop is going to work, and Marsa knows it. Immediately pulls it back. Creep spread from Hendralisk looking solid so far. And Marsa now trying to clean up just a little bit of that. Stop his opponent from going wild with it. His opponent's taken 4 bases as well. So Hendralisk ain't messing around here. Here come the lings. And that's a solid surround here. Banelings connect, and Marsa looking uncharacteristically sloppy. Hendralisk looking absolutely phenomenal so far. Playing this really odd style of Ling, Roach, Baneling, which usually doesn't make a lot of sense, but against Marsa it's working well. I think it helps that Marsa's very marine heavy. So, as a result, Hendralisk is able to get those roaches in there and do a lot of damage, lock down his opponent. Great connections once again. The tank is trying to make his way through there, but there aren't enough tanks to really stop the roaches, and Hendralisk now looking for the bust here. Marsa down to 94 supply. Hendralisk with this really awesome style is going to break his way through this supply depot wall. Lings flood in and try and do some damage. Marsa with a good wall off, though, prevents that from happening. Marsa struggling now in a big way, trying to find himself at third base, but Hendralisk is all over it. This is a new Hendralisk I'm seeing here. Don't get me wrong, he's a good player, but Marsa's been incredible lately. Marsa even won a major tournament lately. Hendralisk not so much, but right now, Hendralisk is looking way, way better. Complexity looking for its second win here, and it looks like they might be able to get it. Marsa on 100 supply versus 170. The roaches crash in. Target fire down the tanks. Banelings get great connections. Marsa looking uncharacteristically sloppy. Hendralisk looking uncharacteristically fan-fucking-tastic. And GG. And don't get me wrong, Hendralisk is not a bad player, but usually you don't see him play to that level against a player like Marsa. That's really impressive. Very impressive. Complexity goes up 2 games to 0. I love that. Ling, Roach, Bane. Not that common. And usually because everyone loves the synergy, right? Ling, Baneling, Mutalisk. Now, that's the way that a lot of Zerg players play. And they get upgrades for the melee units, because it works very well, and it's a very natural transition into Ultralisk after you've got Chitinous plating at Hive Tech. And it works very well, you know, it's a really effective style, it's good against drops. But here's the thing, because Marsa's early style actually committed to a very big push and delayed medevacs, he didn't need a Spire. Hendralisk did not need a Spire, so he built Roaches instead, and then decided, you know what? He's just got a lot of Marines, not so many medevacs, a couple of tanks, and some Marauders. So in other words, I can fight you with Ling, Baneling, Roach. And it worked just fine. Basically, it was the ultimate hatchery tech army. He just throws in here's a little bit of extra layer tech in there to get +2. Tosses in the Roach speed and the Baneling speed. Even gets Overlord speed, for God's sake, and rolls over his opponent. Impressive start here for Complexity. They obviously prepared for this. Very cool. And that, again, was a good match. Gotta say. Huh. Not bad at all. Alright, folks. We're going into Game 3 very shortly. It's going to be Coma versus Caliber. Looking forward to seeing Caliber play again, actually. This 2v2 was pretty good. Wasn't enough to win him the game, but it was pretty good. Let's see what happens after the break. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to SHOUTCraft Clan Wars. It's currently 2-0 in favor of Complexity, and we're going into a PvT here on New Pompeii. Oh yeah. New Pompeii. Terran versus Protoss. We haven't seen too much of this map, honestly. We've actually seen quite a lot of Zerg versus Zerg. We'll see how it goes. I'm intrigued to see how this actually plays out. We did see, I believe, one TVP. We saw Marine Lord versus Huck, and Marine Lord did actually win on this map. Outside of that, it's been mostly Zerg versus Zerg. Okay. About ready to get started here. Everything's looking good. We've got Coma versus Caliber. Caliber's going to be playing Protoss this time around, by the way, instead of random. And we're ready to rock and roll. Well, so far, Complexity's put a really good showing up. Massa looked a bit ropey. Ropier than Massa usually plays, honestly. I would have expected a little bit more from him. He's a really strong player. Really strong. I think he's kind of on... He's on the cusp of that big breakthrough, unless you count his previous tournament win as his big breakthrough. Admittedly, that was an American-only event. But he was looking good. And I don't know, Hendrilisk seemed to have his number there. Seemed to be the right thing to do. Alright, here we go, folks. We are ready for some action here on New Pompeii. And we have ourselves Root Caliber, who's looking to put one on the board for his team to the northwest position of this 5-spawn map, playing Protoss in the pink, versus his opponent to the south position in the style and purple trunks. Playing Terran for Complexity, it is Coma. Alright, so the unique feature, well, this is a very unique map in general. There's no single unique feature which defines it. It's a 5-spawn map, which you generally don't see. You either see 2 or 4, you don't see 5. So it's difficult to say exactly where your opponent's gonna actually be. But the map is kind of like a clock, yeah? So you can go around either way, because each base has 2 entrances instead of 1. Which is a bit crazy. Difficult to handle, very much so. Not that difficult to wall off. I mean, they're not wide ramps, and there's actually rocks there to help you out, but there are 2 entrances to your base, and you have to be very aware of that. You also need to know where your opponent is, so that you can successfully expand away from them. You don't necessarily want to expand towards them. I imagine that maybe as Terran you might want to do that, but most of the time you're probably going to want to expand away from your opponent. The only way to find out, though, is to go around the map, because the middle of the map is blocked off by rocks. So you can attempt to go there, but you're not going to find a way through unless you smash your way through. So you will need to scout in either direction. You can't spawn close positions, but you can spawn in any of the other spots. So there are 3 other potential places that your opponent could be. So you got to go looking for them, find out exactly where they are, and then determine which direction they're planning on expanding in. You could scout the other way as well, of course, to determine that, but that takes a little bit more time, so you don't necessarily want to do that. Coma heading out here, and he is already set up with the refinery, so he's looking to go Reaper, I think, early on here. Not a bad map to go Reaper on, honestly. You can bypass a lot of the nonsense on this map and very quickly get to the other side. It is not completely anti-Reaper, so it is possible to just run right through the center with one. Reminds me quite a lot of Arkanoid, one of the old Pro League maps. Coma's going to get the scout on, and we already see it here from Caliber, who now has just gone all the way through. He can very easily get out of the base once he gets inside here on this map. So preventing early scouts is nigh on impossible. You can't successfully even wall off unless your opponent gets really unlucky and goes in the wrong direction. So preventing those early scouts is next to impossible. So you've just got to deal with that fact. Caliber being a little bit sneaky here, though. I think he's going to put a pylon down. The Reaper making its way across the map and is going to have a look and see what it can see. Up goes Coma. And he's going to be able to get yet another scout off. Doesn't really need it. And Coma already scouted with that SCV, but he gets himself a probe. Good control here. Will he get a second one? Surely not. No, that would be silly. The Stalker is on its way. It's not being chrono boosted. The Mothership Core is, though. It gets a second probe. So this is brilliant for Coma. Absolutely fantastic. Will he commit? He gets a third and he gets out. No way! Oh, that is the biggest value Reaper I've seen in a very, very long time. You don't expect 3 kills and a successful get out with that, so that's beautiful for him. And of course, he needs to avoid getting his Reaper caught and killed by the Stalker in the Mothership Core, but that's pretty killer. Caliber's probe is now moving out. I think he just wanted to pull it back because he was suspicious that Coma might be able to do something with it, and this is a good route here for Caliber, but he does miss the Reaper and has missed the opportunity to do anything with it. In the meantime, Coma has gone for... He's actually going for his expansion and then his factory. So, really standard Terran build. That being Reaper into Reactor, into expansion, and then factory. So, nothing out of the ordinary there. Bunker is going down in this direction, but of course, he could get hit the other way. The Reaper's finally dead and didn't get another pick-off, but it did get another scout. So, he kind of sees what his opponent's doing. Now, what does Caliber decide to do? Well, he's going to expand, and he is going to expand rotationally away from his opponent. So instead of expanding in this direction. Although you've got to bear in mind that considering the positions on this map, one route is closer than the other. So if you go around this way, it's quicker than going around this way. Alright, aggression begins. And Coma is feeling pretty confident that he can defend against aggression from this direction. The question, I suppose, is will Caliber decide to go the other way? You've always got to be aware of that. Your map awareness has got to be really good. Plump down a supply depot. Hell, a sensor tower on this map might be very, very good. But you wouldn't want to dedicate that gas so early. We're seeing Widow Mines out of Coma, as well as a starport, so an early drop play is going to happen. I wonder how much damage will be done, though. Depends if the Mothership Core gets caught out and killed. He's got to be careful. Caliber will have to make sure that his Mothership Core is back at the base and not hanging out in the center of the map where it could be sniped by, say, an errant medevac drop. It's not really what you want. There would be a recall available, but no photon overcharge at that point, so that wouldn't work out so well. So what's Caliber's tech choice here? That's what I'm interested in knowing. Well, he's got his Robo up, so we might see some Immortals come out. He does already have an Observer on the way. Will he go straight to Colossus? It's not a bad map for Colossus, but you've got to be a little bit careful. If you decide to send in Colossus alone, of course they will die, but you can actually do some nasty harass and positioning using the fact that there's a lot of cliffs on this map, and it would be very difficult for the Terran player to actually directly attack those Colossus. No drop as of yet. Only a single medevac out with 2 Widow Mines. So he may be able to do a little bit of damage. Not entirely convinced by that, though. Caliber's kind of prepared for the possibility of a drop. And he's even left an observer in his base. He's going 3 observers. I think he understands that this map is one that you've got to be very situationally aware on. Coma's got to be careful, too, because getting a medevac out of this map, considering these aerial force fields, is very tricky. But there is the initial Widow Mine drop, and it's gonna do some... Nope, only 1. Almost did. Photon Overcharge goes down here. Coma! Chameleon. He is not, I'm afraid. And he loses that drop, and that was completely shut down there by Caliber. Absolutely. And really, there's not that many options for dropping on this map because of these force fields. You can't run that far away. You got to be really careful. So that was perhaps a poor investment, a poor choice of aggression here from Coma. And as a result, Caliber should be feeling pretty comfortable with himself now. Thinking, alright, okay. So I killed the medevac and 2 Widow Mines, and I lost not too much. I think he lost 3 probes in total from that harass and 3 more from the Reaper earlier. And we are going to see the Colossus. I love that. With a map with so many cliffs and rocks on it, having Colossus is great. When you push out with your main army, you've got so many more escape paths for those Colossus that you wouldn't otherwise have. So I love that, particularly. So we're going to see the 2-base Colossus play here from Caliber. 1 Colossus already on the way. What if he'll put range on it? He might not. Although, on a map like this, I'd certainly love to see that. There is a really, really aggressive Protoss build, which involves just going with 2 or 3 Colossus without range. And it's a bit faster. But I don't necessarily expect that to happen. Once Caliber gets the money, he'll probably go for Colossus range, although... Oh, it's pricey. It's a very pricey upgrade. And he is chrono boosting out Colossus, so it looks like he's going to go rangeless for the time being. And it's probably for the best, because Coma is trying to attack. I don't think he's got the unit count to make this work. He does have 22 Marines, though, so I'll give him credit for that. His +1 is about to finish. His stim's not done yet. He's also getting Concussive Shell. His Marauder count's not that high, but it's high enough to be a pain to Stalkers and Zealots. Coma now attempting another drop, which, again, I don't really like necessarily. And Caliber's scouting. I love this. Looking around for drops. He does miss it with the Hallucinated Phoenix, but that's pretty good there. And we are seeing rangeless Colossus from Caliber at the moment. But he is building up his gas count. He's adding on 3 more gateways, though. Come on, surely again. There we go. So there's the range. He just wanted to pump out 2 Colossus really fast, so he was ready for any kind of Terran aggression. But he does need to watch out for this. Coma's going in. He gets himself a pylon, and he's going for another pylon here. There is a Colossus here, but he doesn't have range. He wants to watch out for that! Oh, Caliber! Oh, man. That said, the drop did go down. He lost a lot of units for that. Was it worth it to kill a Colossus? Not 100% certain. I really don't know where Coma's army's going here. That's going to die too. I think Caliber can afford to lose that Colossus, honestly. I really do. And we're seeing a more Marauder-heavy and Viking-heavy composition. You know what I'd love to see here? A transition. Oh, hello, Twilight Council. Like, cancel your Colossus range and transition right now. Go into something else. He's not going to do that, though. I don't blame him. Without a Twilight Council up, he can't easily transition into Templar. It would take too long. So he does need to keep building Colossus, but it would be cool to see a switch out. Now we see a Meteor composition here. Much more Marauder-focused, but there are a lot of Zealots, but they don't have charge, so this actually should work pretty well for Coma. So far, though, he's done a couple of attacks which haven't really done anything. The drops haven't done a huge amount. Yeah, picking off a Colossus is nice, but losing that many Marines and some Marauders for it as well, maybe not worth it. Immediate Templar Archives here, and a second piece of aggression coming out here from Coma. He might have the firepower to do this, considering that these Zealots don't have speed. That is a possibility. Coma doesn't want to fight, though. Doesn't want to be anywhere near that right now. He's a bit concerned. He could maybe snipe the Colossus and get out without taking too many losses, but I don't know. I don't hate that. What I would love to see, actually, is... Yeah, there we go. Zealot charge. I'd like to see, from Caliber, a pylon placed here and Zealot run-bys onto the natural. I think it's very vulnerable to that. We're not seeing Coma dedicate to defending that at all. And the unique rotation of this map allows for those kind of run-bys to happen. Caliber, however, is playing very defensively. So this is not happening as of yet. Archon coming up to defend here as well. There are going to be 2 Colossus in the mix. They will have range. +1 is going to finish as well. Nice use of the force field there. Just to keep that out for just a little bit longer. Caliber's Observer is going to wander in and die for no apparent reason. So that's not too ideal. Another set of force fields being put down to delay this. He wants that Zealot charge. He's going to Chrono Boost it. He has Chrono Boost. He's not Chrono Boosting as of yet. He's probably just going to Chrono Boost his gateways instead. He's working on Storm as well, but that's not going to be an option for him as of yet. Oh, Coma, what are you doing? Not a place to go. And Caliber very smartly kind of baiting those Vikings in by pulling his Colossus all the way back. The Colossus were out of range of those Vikings. The Vikings were looking for a snipe and didn't get one. Photon Overcharge is now in play. Although Coma is trying to outmaneuver it. He's doing a pretty good job of that. Ah, Sneaky Probe. Spots the third, and there's that warp-in I was talking about. Run-bys, warp-ins, really powerful here. Armory coming up, Ghost Academy being added on as well. I like that. Coma anticipating the transition, saying, oh, you've only got 3 Colossus? Okay. Alright. I think I know what's coming. And he's right. But Caliber's now going to push out. So far, very even game up to this point. Which is interesting considering that Coma has lost far more than his opponent, honestly. You can look at the resources lost here. It's blindingly obvious. But maybe... just maybe, killing off that Colossus actually slowed down Caliber's potential attack. Third base is looking like it's going to get... well, it's going to get lifted. Coma. Lift the base. Coma. What? No. Don't lose it. There we go. It's fine. It's not on fire, so I suppose that's fine. Now he needs to pull back, of course, because the aggression is coming in. That's a lot of Zealots. 30 charge Zealots with +1. Coma does have an upgrade advantage here, but he doesn't have EMP. He's got a lot of Marauders, which is maybe not so good against this. Storm's coming down. They're going to land on the Marauders and do some damage, but they did more damage to the Vikings more so than anything else. The Colossus continuing to take fire here. Coma taking decent fights so far. He's got a good rank and file at the back, doing decent damage. He's going to need to kite these Zealots just a little bit and take a little bit less damage than that. The Colossus are now down. Archon's trying to do their job, and the Zealot wall is broken, and Coma stims forward, takes down the Archon. SCV's off the line as well. That one's going to fall. We're going to see some Dead Stalkers as well. An excellent defense by Coma. Really, really meaty Marauder force. Absolutely did the job there. And not the best engagement angle, but in the meantime, Caliber has been ruining Coma's day when it comes to his economy, dealing significant damage. 17 workers killed now. Those Zealot warp-ins, there's 3 pylons placed around the third base for warp-ins from all angles. Finally, these Zealots will get cleaned up, but the cost is great. The third base is down. Coma might even have to think about making that a planetary. It's going to be difficult to defend. Another Zealot warp-in would probably kill that base off. I wonder how many pylons Coma's going to find. He's going to certainly find 2. Yeah, he should find the 3rd as well. He sees the probe. Is he going to find the 3rd? Not yet. I think he thinks he's got all of them. And he's wrong. Oh, this could be ugly. He missed the 3rd pylon. I like the fact that Caliber decided to put so many pylons in play here. It's unusual. You don't usually see 3 pylons set up for warp-ins, but that's working out pretty well for him. And he's now putting a pylon down here as well. So, in the meantime, Caliber establishes his 3rd base. Does it a lot later than Coma. So Coma's repairing this base. He's going to try and get some mules down, which does give him a bit of an edge to get back into this. But bear in mind, Coma took a really good fight. So even if Coma's economy is a little bit weaker, considering the harass, most of the army of Caliber did die. We got a really good engagement. Very, very Marauder heavy. Now it's Marine heavy, of course, because he knows, oh, Colossus maybe not such a thing. You will have to deal with Storm, but right now the Storm for Caliber isn't actually that crazy. And there's a lot of EMP. 7 ghosts. Coma's army's terrifying. Another Zealot warp in. So Caliber's able to force a lift here. But, honestly, Caliber's going to need all of his defenses. The choke point! The choke point! Gotta be so careful! Storm goes down. Not a huge amount of damage yet. EMP's going down, but Caliber... Uh-oh! These storms! Oh, lovely moves by Coma, actually. Stimming forward just a little bit. Those storms could have been huge. Another EMP goes down. There's still a couple of storms left in the back. Zealot warping coming in. DTs as well. This was actually a great play here to warp in those Dark Templar, considering he knows the orbital with the energy is in the air. Can't do anything. But EMP does shut that down quite nicely. That gives a little bit more time to Caliber in order to rebuild his forces. Gets another Zealot run by, doing yet more damage to his opponent. He's going to kill a Marine or 2 here as well, which is not too shabby. A little bit light on the upgrades, though. That's what I'm worried about right now. Coma actually has an upgrade lead now. +2 ground armor is about to finish, though, which I do like against this Marine Heavy force, so that works out pretty well. This series has already been kind of great, I've got to say. These guys have obviously practiced the maps and are really playing to the strengths of them. Caliber with the lovely deny here with this 3rd, which is really stifling the economy of Coma right now. He needs to be able to mine from that 3rd base. He's mined out in his main. There's even DTs killing his gas miners here. But he can't mine from his 3rd base yet. So Coma is going to have to clean out this Dark Templar. Kill it off. Oh, wow. Marauder goes down as well. There's the scan. Not before another Marine dies, though. And now the drop comes in. So, finally, we see some aggression from Coma coming in. And this 3rd base is actually undefended. So, where is the Mothership Core? It is over here with the main army, on the other side of the map. That is not where you want to go. He could recall his army. That's a possibility, but he wouldn't be able to use Photon Overcharge. The Nexus Snipe from Coma. Down it goes. And that puts Coma right back in. Very nicely done indeed. Caliber has built up a big army in the process, but did just lose his 3rd Nexus. I think he maybe could have recalled, but I don't know if even then he would have been able to save that base. Another DT warp in. Caliber trying to do damage to his opponent once again. This is doing pretty well so far. Do we have scan energy? Yes, we do. So that Dark Templar will be picked off quite nicely here. Caliber's army's looking a bit terrifying now. 2 Colossus, 2 Archon, 3 DTs, 12 Stalkers, 2 High Templar, and 16? Yeah, 16 Charging Zealots. Not particularly well upgraded. They're 1-2, so they kind of match up to what Coma has right now, which is 2-1. And now Caliber is actually going to break his way through the center of the map, which is, again, not something we've really seen. Another drop comes in for another Nexus Snipe, though. He goes all the way across the map and loses that. But Coma is not expecting this attack from that angle. This is going to go right through the middle. There are rocks you can do that, and this is a really odd attack path. And I don't think Coma was ready for it. He's now moving back in to try and defend, but he's already out of position. The Archon's right at the front here. EMPs do blanket it and eventually take it down. Caliber trying to do some damage here. Needs to be very careful. Loses a lot of Stalkers to those Marauders at the start here. Coma, with most of his army, though, now stimming towards the main base. Going to try and snipe off the Nexus, take out some tech here. More EMPs go down, and Caliber's army's looking a little bit fragile here. I'm not liking this. Lovely snipes here from Coma. Takes out the High Templar. Pushes forward once again. The Colossus doing work here. Zealots drill the remainder of it against it. It doesn't matter. Coma picks up the game, having sniped off the main base. A GG again for complexity. 3-0 against Root? Wow. Excellent play. So, we are now left in a rather interesting position, folks. Because if Minigun's not back in time, and I hope he is, then we will actually see a 4-0 walkover. Minigun Minigun just came online. Thank God. Minigun is online. So Minigun is looking to be the last man standing here to send it back in favor of Root. 3-0 for Complexity thus far. Excellent games. Well prepared from the Complexity guys. Really cool back and forth, actually, between Coma and Caliber there. I enjoyed that a lot. Really awesome to see that map used in that way as well. I think this series, more so than anything, has actually demonstrated just how cool these maps can be. And that's great. And I really appreciate both these teams for doing that. Really preparing some unique builds and strategies for these maps. But now, we have the last man standing. Minigun versus QXE. So this was supposed to be the opening map on Keru. As it stands, it's actually... Oh, hang on a minute. Yeah. Yeah, so it should be the QXE game now, I believe. Yeah, but just making sure that's correct. So, Keru was supposed to be the opening game. Minigun got delayed and got held up. So, we were able to move things around, and Minigun just came online. So, I think we should be able to go to the Minigun versus QXE game now. Now, online. Alright, folks, going to take a short break and set that up for you. And when we come back... Will it be an all-kill for Complexity? Or will Minigun begin the comeback? The current top-ranked NA player when it comes to the ladder. Is he enough for QXE on Neo Keru? We'll find out after the break. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to just a little bit of SHOUTCraft Clan Wars. And it's turned into a really interesting war up to this point, hasn't it? It's been a lot of fun to watch. And it could end up being a potential all-kill. It is possible. So, this was supposed to be game 1 of this series, but unfortunately Minigun was called away. He is now available, and it's going to be, I would say, the ace of both teams going up against each other. QXE from Complexity, and Minigun from Root. We'll check that they're both ready. It's going to be on Neo Keru, which is one of our more standard maps in the pool, so... It's hard to say whether or not the map will really affect the game in a crazy way, like we've seen from some of the other maps. But Keru's a really rock-solid map, actually. We've seen some good games on it so far. It's going to, of course, be another Terran versus Protoss, which is not going so well for the Protoss up to this point. I've got to say, Caliber was, well, not up to the caliber we would expect in order... I'm sorry, that was unnecessary. Like, I should apologize to the world for even saying such a thing. I couldn't resist. Come on. At least I made up for it with the Coma Chameleon joke, right? That's good enough, yeah? Yeah? Was that? No? No? Didn't think so. Alright, never mind. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, to the northeast position. The man looking to complete the all-kill for Complexity. In the purple trunks playing Terran. It's Complexity QXE. Also known as the Bandana Man, versus his opponent to the southwest position. In the blue trunks, the last man standing for Root. He needs to begin the comeback right here. He is playing Protoss. He is Root Minigun. Okay. Classic matchup between these two. They have met each other many times in the past. Complexity and Root have butted heads many times in the past, whether it be in Clan Wars or individual leagues. They vie for the top spot as kind of all-American teams, you know? Complexity did used to have a couple of Koreans. They used to have Ganji, of course, and they had the STC. Hart used to be a player for Complexity as well. No longer the case, and they're all-American. Roots has one Korean player in the form of Sage, and everybody else is American or Canadian. Actually, that's not true. What am I talking about? They have 2 Australians. We'll call them honorary Americans, right? They speak English, and they're not from Korea. So, they must be Americans. You know, in StarCraft logic, that's usually right. So, I'm going to go with it. I'm going to stick with it. But Root does have a primarily American and Canadian roster with a couple of Australians tossed in there for good measure. And Root has been widely considered for a long time to be a very, very strong North American-based team. And Complexity, lately, especially with the retirement of the STC, wasn't looking so good. But they picked up a bunch of new players, and they reinvigorated their roster, and so far, they're really showing some power today. Coma with a great game, Hendralisk with an excellent game, and QXE with an engineering block. Alright. Looking to try and delay that expansion. But nothing too greedy from Minigun up to this point. He's gone for 1 gas, 3 probes in that one gas and is going for the cyber core. He's actually going to get a zealot as well, which is going to be brilliant. I think we're already seeing a few mind games from these guys, one way or the other. This probe is going to confirm that the zealot was the right call. And the timing is just kind of beautiful. He could have cancelled that zealot if there was no engineering bay. It was lined up just perfectly for the scout there. It's a thing of beauty. And now Minigun can go down, and he can at least kill this SCV. We'll see. QXE might be able to get away with it, and that's going to be irritating for a zealot. You're hammering on a building, and it's being rebuilt behind you. God damn it. Well, QXE did build a Reaper, so Minigun could have a couple of problems here, but the Stalker is about to pop out, so it's not too bad. A little delaying tactic from QXE. If he does get the zealot, that would be insane. And very unlikely. Although, he's taking a couple of hits. He's got to watch out. Minigun wanting to maximize his damage on this engineering bay to make sure it gets cancelled quickly. QXE with a proxy factory. And this is a killer place to put it. He can just float this factory right into the base. I don't know if there's a place he can put it. He'd have to put it here. Proxy factory. Interesting stuff. I imagine this is for Widow Mines. It could be for Hellions, but Proxy Widow Mine with an in-base float could work pretty well. Not a terrible idea at all. It could also just be to attack the natural. This is actually kind of a similar position to what we saw, a very old game now. From WCS America Season 1, it was Crank versus Alive. He actually pulled Proxy Widow Mine in a similar position to this and then just ran them into the natural. Alright, well, this is already an interesting game from QXE. Minigun playing rock solid, like rock solid standard, not really making any mistakes. Playing his build the way he wants to. It is going to be an in-base float. It's a risky in-base float. Incredibly so. QXE knows the position here. This is very, very close to being seen. But it isn't seen right now. And if he gets away with this, it's going to be incredible. Will Minigun see it? He will not. QXE with just... I mean, if that was a centimeter to the left, that would have been seen. So QXE, with the Great Scout from the Reaper, then says, you know what? I can pull this off. And Minigun is not going to expect this. There is a sentry on the way out. That's not going to protect him from in-base Widow Mines, though. But the question is, how much damage does this do, you know? Because even if he doesn't realize, he can still pull probes pretty quickly, and he does, in very, very fast. So, it looks... Oh, almost lost the sentry there. QXE would have been very happy, I think, with that pickup. He's now reburrowing the mine. And the thing is, there's no detection anywhere. Like, this build from Minigun doesn't have an observer. It also doesn't have a Stargate, which is kind of silly. I mean, but what are you going to do? So the Zealot eats it, and QXE is going to continue to build this, and Minigun doesn't realize. Now we finally realize there's got to be an in-base proxy factory, and there is. And QXE is going to look to put a mine on the ramp here. This is terrible. I mean, how does Minigun deal with this without taking damage? Well, the answer is you can't deal with it without taking damage. There's the pickoff. There we see the observer. It's finally out here. And that's going to be grabbed as well. He's going to try and build another Widow Mine. He can do it. There's not enough DPS here to kill a factory before the Widow Mine comes out, so he can make that happen. But was it worth it? I mean, it's not a big dedication from QXE. I think that's kind of the thing that you've got to bear in mind. He didn't commit a huge amount to it. And QXE is going to decide, you know what, I don't want to lose my factory now. I need to get it out of there. But now QXE has solid map control and is going to start to move across the map. It was a cool move, don't get me wrong. In the background, of course, he's been building barracks. He's building his starport as well. He wants to build that just in case somehow he loses his factory, which is not likely. And the post's coming at the front here. Where's the mothership core? Over there. It has no energy for a photon overcharge. This observer is going to see this push in. Alright, let's see how much damage this little poke can do. It's quite a powerful poke, actually. It does have a lot of Marines in there. No combat shield. No stim upgrade as of yet, so he does go in a little bit before that. I think he's perhaps spotted opportunity. And there is opportunity, certainly, and he's doing some damage, but is it worth it? That's a lot of probes that are going down here. A lot of probes from Minigun. But QXE is going to lose pretty much all his army here, I would think. But, oh, nice micro from Minigun, I gotta say. And that is gonna be the shutdown before the sentry goes down. So, 10 workers killed. For the price of, what? About 10, 12 Marines and a Marauder? I don't know if that was worthwhile. It did secure a third base there, but you gotta consider, Minigun is now going for Colossus, and everything that QXE's been doing up to this point has slightly slowed down his ability to get his starport up and his medevacs. Not a huge amount. Like, he didn't commit too much to those Widow Mines. Oh, wow. QXE, you what? No. You cheeky, cheeky bastard. No way. No way. QXE trying to go for yet another in-base Widowmine is not going to get that. I suppose it's a gambit that you can try and pull off. He's going to lose his factory most likely, but not a huge deal at this stage. Armory coming up here. Another engineering bay. So he will be just going for that big upgrade heavy bio style. And Minigun has been held back for the time being and has gone to up to Colossus with no thermal lance and is researching Blink. But he does have a lot of gas, so I guess that's not really a problem. He can start thermal lance whenever he wants. He's getting Blink. That'll deal nicely with drop play. QXE's rolling out again. This time he does have Stimmen +1. Combat Shield is about to kick in as well. And this could catch Minigun off guard. Minigun is moving to defend his third base, which you kind of have to do on this map. The third base can be very vulnerable. It's often towards the opponent. Can be a bit difficult to deal with. It has been spotted. Minigun is going to try and move and intercept. QXE placing his units quite carefully in the main base. Takes out one Stalker, looks for a third, and he gets it. And, I mean, he can be happy with just that, but I think he wants to shut the pylon down. Didn't quite get it, though. And off he goes. Thankfully, Blink is not done yet. So, hey, 3 Stalkers for nothing. Why not? Why not? That's worthwhile. And in the meantime, he finds himself a little attack vector to go onto the third base. He's going to kill a probe, gets a pylon. Isn't going to kill the third, but this harassment's been pretty good so far from QXE. And Minigun is left with a fairly small army. But he is sitting on some pretty high-tech stuff. Colossus. But he's still in no range. He's not even researching it. He has the gas, which is what kind of confuses me. And it almost indicates to me he doesn't want to commit to Colossus, but he's building a third one. You want range at this point, one would think. And if he was saving gas for something else, like maybe he was going double upgrades, I would maybe understand. But I just don't know what he's really doing. Another drop comes in here from QXE, and that's going to kill the Stalker defense, and the Photon Overcharge is kicked in, so it is going to have to get out now. More workers being killed. 18. Oh, no focus fire from that Photon Overcharge, though, so the Medevac is going to get away. Would have been nice to kill that Medevac, absolutely, but he did kill the army, so Minigun is going to get to his third base. Still no Photon Overcharge. Again, you know, if he'd gone double Forge, maybe I could understand this, but he's currently on 1-1, not researching 2-2, because, of course, he doesn't have a Twilight Council, so he can't even do that. And he has no extended thermal lance, which is really kind of weird. Hello! Goodbye, QXE. Whoa! GG. I don't know if I'd call that GG from Minigun. That was one-sided. And QXE puts the nail in the coffin for an all-kill for Complexity. That's kind of shocking, honestly. Considering Minigun's current form, I really don't know what was going through his head there. QXE completely picked him apart. I mean, QXE was floating like 1,800 minerals at the end of that game. He didn't even need money at that point. He was completely unharassed. He had map control. He was building up an upgrade advantage. The Colossus never got extended thermal lance for no apparent reason. Again, it's not something I can explain. I don't want to necessarily speculate when it comes to pro gamers. But I gotta say, the lack of a thermal lance, the really... I mean, it wasn't really a premature GG from Minigun, because honestly, I think he may have realized that if he got his thermal lance and then just GG'd at that point, because he couldn't deal with QXE at that point. QXE was ahead in pretty much every aspect, so... You know, he secured his third very well. The proxy Widowmine was maybe... I mean, it was less effective, but I guess it really, really caught the root player off guard. It didn't do a lot of damage, but... I don't know. Minigun seemed off in that game, honestly. Unusually, but QXE was not. Complexity in general, not, honestly. Great games from Coma, great games from Hendrilisk and QXE, and their 2v2 performance really rock solid as well. So, I think some people consider Complexity to be one of the weaker teams in this league, but I think their sound thrashing of Root perhaps may very well prove that that is not the case. Complexity were very well prepared for this series, and they played some excellent games, so all credit to them for that. Well done. So there you go, folks. There is your Clan War for today. Again, an all-kill, which was a little bit surprising, but certainly not as one-sided an all-kill as we saw previously, so that I'm pretty happy about. Alright. Now, let me tell you about some of the upcoming matches we've got for you. We do have a number over the rest of March. It's going to be pretty cool by the looks of it. So let me tell you about what's coming up. We have another one this week, actually. So hopefully you'll look forward to that one. We have... This is going to be a killer, guys. Team Liquid versus MVP. Oh, yeah. It's going to be a bit later. It's going to be at 7 p.m. EDT. So we're still on Daylight Savings Time in the US, and that Europe isn't over there yet, so just bear in mind the time difference. It's going to be a bit later because we have to accommodate for the Korean players, of course. With Daylight Savings Time currently going on, we don't want the Koreans getting up at 6 a.m. That would absolutely suck. But, yeah, Team Liquid versus MVP, 7 p.m. And I believe QXC will actually co-cast that with me. He did mention he wanted to do that. And then on Saturday, we have Root up again against Clan Who. Of course, the Australian clan. So, a Saturday event at 5 p.m. EDT for that one. Which, again, should be a pretty good war, although Root is going to have to kind of get its act together, honestly. Compared to what happened in that, well, you know, that wasn't really the performance I think a lot of people expected from Root. Bit shaky, especially from two of their star players. Uncharacteristically so. But hey, you know, it can happen. You just have bad days sometimes. So they get another shot by taking on the Australian clan, who put on a really good performance against a very strong MYE lineup. I mean, we are talking about the clan that lost by a single map against MYE with their A-team. And MYE was playing with Jack Chi and Stardust during that. So they did well. Clan Who put on a great performance. That was one of the best Clan Wars I've seen up to date. So Root's going to have their work cut out for them there. And then we actually have 2 more Clan Wars in a row. 3 days of Clan Wars. Starting on Saturday, MVP versus Mouse Sports on Sunday. I just got the lineup for that, by the way. So I can share that with you, since I just received it. I think that's going to be an absolutely incredible match. We're opening up with Keen versus Deer. Oh yeah, on Neo Jungle Valley. Then we have Dream versus Hero Marine. It's going to be an awesome TVT. Followed by Super versus Hazwobs on New Polaris Rhapsody. The 2v2 will be Dream and Keen versus Hero Marine and Starbuck, the new recruit there for Mouse Sports. Starbuck will then play again against Dongray Gu on Fallen Dreams. And then Billowy on New Pompeii versus Vortex. That should be a really, really, really cool series. Yeah. And after that, we've got another Clan War, if you can actually believe that. So much cool stuff. Evil Geniuses versus Startail. Yes. EG versus Startail. That's going to be, again, at 7 p.m. EDT on Monday. So a bit late for the Europeans. Sorry about that, but it's an American team versus a Korean team. We've got to kind of accommodate. And I'd just like to point out, by the way, MVP versus Mouse Sports is actually at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. So really easy for the Europeans to watch on the Sunday. Incredible Clan Wars. And then on the 27th, which is most likely not going to be cast by me because I may have to travel that day, but I will find a replacement caster. IM versus Team Liquid on the 27th at 7 p.m. EDT. You can check out all the schedules here on SHOUTCraft Clan Wars MLG channel, which is, of course, mlg.tv/shoutcraft. And keep an eye on the Team Liquid thread and on Liquipedia as well, because both of those tend to be very much updated. Congratulations to Complexity for a very impressive performance today. Really, really nice to see them come back and really prepare for a clan war and perform extremely well. They didn't even have to ally with another team. I mean, it used to be Complexity Dignitas playing in team leagues. They actually have a strong enough team to play in a team league themselves now. So I'm very impressed by Complexity's performance here. Really, really good. And also, you know, big thanks to them for properly preparing on each map. QXC's map build was great. Everyone's map build on Complexity was great. That was a really good clan war, even though it ended up 4-0. I'm happy with that. Folks, thank you very much for watching. As always, you have been a fantastic audience. If you missed anything, there's going to be a rerun that begins directly after this show. So if you missed anything that's going on, I will be able to rerun it immediately. The full spoiler-free VOD will be available over on youtube.com/TotalBiscuit. That's most likely going to be going up tomorrow. So if you missed anything like the 2v2, I'd recommend watching it because it was actually great this time around. And of course, as I said before, our next event will be happening on the 20th, and it's going to be Team Liquid versus MVP, which is gonna be great. Absolutely great. My name has been TotalBiscuit. Thank you to MLG TV for sponsoring SHOUTCraft Clan Wars, and we've got plenty more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more Clan Wars before the end of the month. And we'll be going on all year. It's going to be a fantastic series. I'll see you next time.